Hi gang, today we are adding in another element to our equations and solving what are called variables on both sides of the equation. So no longer is there just an x on one side, there are x's on each side, which makes it a little bit more challenging. All right, let's see what we got. Procedure: first, use inverse operations to combine like terms on opposite sides of the equation. So the like terms aren't all on the same side, they're on opposite sides. Therefore, we have to do the opposite and use inverse operations to isolate the variable. So once you just have a coefficient times x equals some number, you can divide to find the answer or multiply by the reciprocal to find the answer. Let's try some problems. Number one, what are the like terms? All right, well, I see something with an x here and something with an x here. So those are my like terms. Now, think of this in terms of balancing a scale. If I think of this as a scale where this is my middle part, this side looks to be heavier than this side, but they are actually the same because we are saying that they are equal to each other. Now, because I want to solve this, to me it makes more sense to take from the side that looks heavier. That's 6x minus 12. There are two terms there instead of one. So I'm going to take the like term to 2x away from the side with two terms, right? So 6x is a like term to 2x. I want to bring it over to the 2x. 6x is positive, so I'm going to subtract it. Now, very important that you bring down this minus sign. Now it acts as a negative, so we get negative 12 equals 2 minus 6, which is negative 4x. Then we divide by the coefficient, which is the negative 4. Don't lose your negative sign. And x equals a negative divided by a negative, so it's positive 3. Done. All right, so not too different, but still requires a little extra thought. All right, jumping to number 2. So now we have 8x equals 4x plus 8. Again, this side looks bigger than this side. So we're going to take from the side with two terms by combining the like terms. So if I subtract 4x on both sides, I then only have one term on each side. I get 4x equals 8. Divide by 4, and x equals 2. And there's my solution. Done. All right. Moving to number 3. Now I make it a little bit more challenging with some fractions. Still the same setup. All right, so I have negative 1/2 x and 1/4 x. Those are the like terms. I want to take from the side that has more. So I want to move the negative 1/2 x to the other side. The opposite of negative 1/2 is positive 1/2. So I'm going to add 1/2 x to both sides. I get, again, bringing down the negative 18 equals some number. Now, I really hope that you guys know what a quarter plus a half is, but if you don't, remember you can make common denominators. So 2 goes into 4, so I'm going to leave the 1/4, and I'm going to change 1/2 so that it's also out of 4. So multiplying 1 and 2 by 2 gives me 2/4, and that gives me 3/4. So I have negative 18 equals 3/4 x. Now I have a fraction, so I have to multiply by the reciprocal, which would be 4/3. That makes this 1x. Multiply this side also by 4/3. And then we remember my rule, divide by the denominator, multiply by the numerator. Negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24. Final answer. Okay, so a little bit more complicated when you have a fraction, but nothing out of your reach. You guys can do it. All right, let's take a look at the next example. Number 4. All right, so now we got two terms on both sides. Still something you can do, just a little bit extra steps there. So if we take a look at the like terms, what are they? So we have 9x and 7x. Those would be like terms. And negative 3 and positive 5. Those are the like terms. I always like to start with combining the variables first. Now, because there are two terms on each side, it doesn't really matter which side I decide to bring the x's to. In my opinion, it's easier to subtract 7 from 9 than 9 from 7. So I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides. That results in 9 minus 7x is 2x minus 3 equals 7x's cancel out, 5. And I've got a two-step equation that we're very familiar with solving. Get rid of the constant by adding 3. Cancels. 2x equals 8. Get rid of the coefficient by multiplying by the reciprocal or dividing by 2. And x equals 4. Done. All right, let's see another one like that. Number 5. Again, 2 terms on each side. We start by getting the x's together. Now, I could either add 2x or add 5x. Okay? If I add 2x, I'm going to still have negatives. If I add 5x, I'll not have a negative. I prefer it that way, so I'm going to add 5x to both sides. Five x minus 2x is 3x minus 8 equals 10. The constant is negative 8, so we're going to add 8 to both sides. So 3x equals 18. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and x equals 6. Final answer. All right, hopefully you're picking this up, seeing how I'm getting it. It's not so hard. I have confidence that you guys can figure it out. All right, one more. We have number 6 with some more variables, okay, or more fractions rather. Of course, there's more variables. All right, so again, keep in mind when we're dealing with those fractions, we want to have a common denominator. Now, here we have positive 3/4 x and negative 1/8 x. To me, it makes more sense to add the 1/8 x than it is to subtract the 3/4 x. So we're going to add 1/8 x here and add 1/8 x here. This cancels out. And now when we're doing that math, it would be easier if that 3/4 was out of 8. So I'm going to multiply those both by 2 and I get 6/8. 6/8 plus 1/8 is 7/8 plus 16 equals 2. Get rid of the constant, which is plus 16, by subtracting 16 from both sides. So we get 7/8 x equals 2 minus 16, which is negative 14. Then multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of the fraction. And remember, when we're multiplying by the reciprocal, it's like dividing by the denominator and multiplying by the numerator. Negative 14 divided by 7 is 2, or negative 2. Negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. There's our final answer. Piece of cake. All right, so I believe that is all I'm doing with you. You're going to try 7 through 10 on your own. Check in with us. Make sure that you've got them right before moving on to your exit ticket and your homework.